State your name, where you live, and what you do for work.
My name is Krishna. I live in Toronto and I work from home for a cloud tech startup. I do customer success and partnerships.
Awesome. Okay, so I want you to describe your situation before joining in with me and Generation Fit in terms of, what you weighed and how you felt about yourself.
Yeah, I was in a place where for the last 4 or 5 years prior, I had been essentially a potato through the pandemic, just being inside a lot of the time. I put on a lot more fat than I had realized, and it reached the point where I was actually seeing a difference when I've always been that skinny person or that skinny kid, no matter what. I was always playing sports, all of that. So given that I've had opportunities to go to the gym, do all of that with friends or whatever it is, and I've never taken on it, I realized that I am now 27. I need to make some kind of change. And that's when I sort of came across, I think it was on Instagram, and, we spoke a little bit and we got this going. Um, and yeah, I think at the time I was at around 166 pounds. And at my lowest now, I've been around that 152 mark. And I've definitely recognized people around me have recognized, especially, girlfriend, all of that. The change, like I definitely feel more confident when it comes to playing sports that I'm doing more of now. I feel more like someone who is ready to play sports, right, and keep building upon it. So, just feeling a lot better, and just happy to set a new sort of standard of physical exercise, right? Whether that's through sports, gym, whatever that is, right? And getting that train sort of going.
Of course, of course. And back then, right, before starting the program, like what were you unable to do that you wished you could?
Um, back then, I had access to this gym in my building, and I would still, for some reason, not really head down. I think it's nice having an apartment gym because there's less people, and so there isn't necessarily as much fear of sort of people being around you and sort of being looked at or whatever, just like the usual sort of gym stuff. But I just wasn't finding myself having the motivation to go. I feel like I needed a platform or some structure and things to build on that I just wasn't letting myself do. And there's resources on the internet. Sure, there's stuff I could Google about food, nutrition, about exercises, but to step in here, have someone that I'm meeting with on a weekly basis that I can chuck any questions to and having everything in one spot, that convenience and just that accountability, a combination of both was awesome, right? And then as we progressed as well over the course of weeks, having someone to speak to about form, not really having to do that work, quote unquote, myself, but getting essentially a professional opinion, right, was amazing. I just felt like I was held through that entire period, and that's what kept me going because I could have very well have started something like this myself, made myself go to the gym, but in a week's time, 2 weeks time, fallen off, right? So building that consistency has always been difficult for me, and I think that's what was huge. Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. And did it have, being at the heaviest you've ever been, right? At the time, did that have any negative impacts around, others around you?
Not so much others around you. I do feel like I had hesitation. I'd moved to Toronto in 2023, and I felt like I didn't want to step around, socialize, do all that stuff in general. And on top of that, I wasn't exactly the most confident in myself, so I didn't necessarily feel like that sort of added to it, right? So I didn't really want to post on social media, post updates, stuff like that. I was very happy to sort of remain a bit of a ghost. And especially with remote work and all of those things, it can be pretty isolating in that sense, right? I of course had my girlfriend, but we're also long distance, and so I would only spend time with her at certain periods, right? So um it, alongside Everfit, this whole journey, I've been a lot more social. I've been going out a lot more. I've been playing football, sports. I've made friends, right, going to bars and stuff to watch football games, soccer games, right, whatever that is. I've definitely come out of my shell more when I've naturally been a very social person, but in the last 4 or 5 years, I wasn't. And so, um, I do feel like just getting myself out the house, getting all this activity and stuff, it helped me feel better, right, and go out and expand that into other areas of my life as well. So that was huge.
Awesome. Right. Okay. So then here, how did you find me or Generation Fit?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've always we haven't, I guess, spoken all that much throughout the course. I've been speaking with Brett throughout most of it. And what's been nice is that I felt like I've almost only needed to speak with him, if that makes sense, right? It's been really good working with him. I've gotten what I needed. And the thing that I, I found really useful with you as well is often your stories and things that I would see as well on Instagram. Just that are little nutrition hacks or whatever that may be, right? Certain exercises that you would post, but everything that I think you guys offer as a whole, from the app to the community calls, which I knew always was an option, but I never, personally took part in them. There was always that opportunity to embed myself a lot more, right? I think there was always someone that was always pretty present. And that's what was so huge for things like I talked about with consistency and all of that, right? But yeah, no complaints, nothing but really good stuff to say. Just because I've worked through this and I feel pretty solid as to where I'm at now, right? And it's just about building from here. So yeah.
Yeah, and when you started, what were your thoughts about even chatting with me and going through the entire process?
Yeah, when we had that introduction call, I remember stepping in here just because what you shared really spoke to me in terms of remote work, about sort of just this kind of clientele, right? And how difficult it can sort of be to get going. It really resonated with me that I am 27 and I either make a change with lifestyle now, or I essentially am never going to do it, right? So when we jumped onto that call, and we talked through things, I never had the intention to commit, if that makes sense. I never had the intention to necessarily move forward. I was more, let me get on this call and feel like I'm doing something for this, and I don't know where I'm at or if I'm going to move forward or not, right? But once we had that call, I wasn't even necessarily maybe in the best financial place to make a big commitment, financially, whatever that was. But after we spoke through everything, I understood a bit more of what could be offered to me. I realized that, unless I'm somehow magically going to do all of these things, like tracking nutrition, going to the gym, building that consistency, being accountable for myself, all of those things wrapped into one, I'm somehow going to just start doing it and trust that I'm going to do it. Um, I I decided to, of course, move forward, right? And since then, I have not. There's not been a day or a point where I have felt like I've regretted that, or that was something that I did and I could have maybe done it differently, right? I have been sort of full steam ahead with this. And I think I really felt it, like I said, a couple of weeks or even months in, where uh, there were times where if I didn't have this, or I didn't have your team, I didn't have Breath, I didn't have the Everfit app, right? I would I would stop weighing myself, or I would stop I would stop wanting to go to the gym. I'd give excuses to myself. It 3 times a week would go to 2 times a week, would go to, let's skip this week or whatever it is. I would travel outside of the country and come back and feel like I've reset, right? So, um, yeah, I like I said at the beginning, I wasn't so sure that I was gonna commit, but ever since I did, it's been something that I've been super thankful for sure.
Absolutely, we got you. And
Yeah.
I think you mentioned a few of these, but what were your initial doubts and fears when you got on that call when you onboarded?
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't in the best place, right? Obviously, physically, all of that. It wasn't like I was in a terrible, terrible spot, but I was definitely on this sort of decline. And talking about that was not something that I was necessarily too excited to do. But when we got on there and you sort of talked me through everything, I went from a place of indecision to being like, let's do this, right? Like, let's just commit to this. Let's do this. This is the way I take that step. This is something that I'm doing for myself, right? This is the best kind of investment that I can make, right? A lot of those things changed over the course of that call, but initially it was more just, it was almost it was almost the fear of stepping into that call and still not taking that action, right? Getting myself close, but not going past that line. So I'm glad that that did change in our conversation and it did move forward. But yeah, it was just a accumulation, I think, of all of those things.
Of course. And well, I guess it's a perfect segue to telling the viewers where you're at now. Like tell them about, what you're weighing in at, tell them the clothes, energy, like you just give them the whole spiel.
Yeah. Man, I mean, now I'm kind of hovering around that 152 to 154-ish mark. I also am very conscious of when I shift my diet a little bit and what impact that has in my body. Now that we've been doing this consistently long enough, I have such a good idea of when something's a week where I'm letting myself go a little bit versus when I'm on track. And those changes in weight are significant, right? I'm playing a lot more sports. I've met a lot of people through it, which is awesome. I definitely feel more like myself 4 or 5 years ago when it comes to playing things like football or soccer or whatever that is, right? That's a mixture of just playing football, but also all of this activity outside of it, right? That we've been doing. And yeah, I mean, in terms of the progress photos we're taking, the clothes, I'm at a point where I want to start buying new clothes and stuff because I feel like I have the opportunity to fill out certain clothes or sizes in a way that actually makes me feel pretty confident when I go out, right? Versus prior to that, I put on any t-shirt, and it's not like it's terrible, but it's not exactly where I want to be, right? So I I've gotten a bit more interest in looking at clothes that I specifically want to buy because I look better in them, right? And I know that I still have a decent amount to go, I would say, in terms of where I might ideally want to be. Um, but it's still such an amazing spot. Like I feel healthy right now, which is what matters the most. That's what I was looking forward to the most. So yeah.
Absolutely, man. And what positive impact has this had on others around you?
Um, yeah, I mean, I when I travel to go see my girlfriend, when I have sort of friends around me in the team that I play football in, and just other people that I've known here, um, I think I'm just way more happy to be active, be outside, not, maybe hanging out and being sort of more of a potato, doing things like watching TV shows or whatever it is all the time. But wanting to go to the gym, right? When I'm in Tennessee, for example, wanting to go for a hike or, being outside, being present, being active more. Uh, yeah, outside of that, as I mentioned, I think it's made me a bit more social as well, and just open to meeting people and all of that more. So I think that's felt especially by people who might not know me that well versus people that I already have in my life. So socially, it's made a pretty big difference, but more to the people that I don't know yet, if that makes sense, right? But yeah,
Gotcha. Yeah, of course. I mean, of course it makes sense. I mean, I think just being in a healthy position, I mean, I felt it too. I think on one of my posts recently, I was like, look, we all got into this for vanity's sake. And then next thing you know, you're like, well, not, besides just the vanity stuff, you're like, holy crap, I can move around. I have energy. I can, I fit into clothes. And
yeah,
it's almost enlightening to like to feel that way and be like, man, I never want to go out of this spot ever again. So I feel you. I'm like right there with you. I was definitely more shy when I was fatter,
yeah.
honestly. So, all right. Well, last question. What will you tell someone who is watching this right now and is unsure about taking the next step?
Oh man, there's enough room to think and to overthink and to understand whether it's worth committing or whatever it is. But if you feel like there is some doubt, I feel like it's worth getting this kind of support, getting this kind of help, getting this kind of community, having everything streamlined, everything in one spot. I would absolutely say to take that leap. Because once you've taken that leap and you've committed, then you just have the fun of sort of working through it, right? That's all you have to focus on, and the results will sort of speak for itself, I think. So yeah, just go for it, I guess.
Yeah, well, thank you, Krishna. You've been awesome and amazing to work with, and we're going to even get you even further from here. And just know that officially he is, I mean, on paper, he is down 14 pounds, but because he put on about 5, 6 pounds of muscle, so he's basically down 18 to 20 pounds of fat while putting on 5, 6 pounds of muscle. So that's the official numbers, and I'll have it nicely populated here once it's like edited in. But dude, I appreciate you. Yeah, I'm proud of you. Like you
Yeah,
come, I still have that initial call when we went on, and I could feel that, that spot where you were. And now
yeah,
here it's lighter, right? It's more positive. So just know that it's definitely, I don't want to say aura, but the whole point is that there's definitely a positive energy coming out of this.
yeah. Thank you so much, and I appreciate all of you as well. Yeah, this has been sick. Thank you.